You're a big, dumb, ugly poo-poo head.
I peered through the eye holes of my costume at the angry urchin who'd flung this insult at me. He appeared to be about 6 or 7, and his round cheeks were as red as pomegranates as he worked himself into a temper tantrum worthy of Veruca Salt. Glancing around, I attempted to identify the parental figure he belonged to. Unfortunately, none of the nearby adults seemed inclined to claim him. Not that I could blame them. If he was my kid, I'd probably pretend not to know him too.
I want ice cream,
he screamed at the top of his lungs as he stamped his feet on the pavement.
Give me some ice cream, right now.
Grudgingly, I was forced to respect his commitment to his goals, although I dearly wished he'd find someone else to focus his impressively loud displeasure at. People were staring now, and I scanned the vicinity for an amusement park employee to come to my aid and escort this miniature ball of rage to the security office, or anywhere really, that was far away from me. I'd have done it myself, but I wasn't allowed to speak while in costume in front of the public. There was a long list of rules you were expected to follow when assuming the role of Sheriff Scoopy, the official mascot of the King's Creamery Ice Cream Company. I felt like I'd stepped into a television sitcom. This was the part at the beginning of the episode where you'd hear a record scratch sound as the image freeze-framed on me and my absurd predicament with a voiceover of me saying, "Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got into this situation." At which point the episode would jump to a flashback explaining how a grown man with a college education had ended up dressed as a giant ice cream cone while being verbally assaulted by a child. A week ago, I'd had a management job at the King's Creamery corporate headquarters. I'd worn dress shirts and slacks to work every day instead of a puffy ice cream cone costume with a comically large cowboy hat and clown-sized boots. I'd had a desk, for God's sake, and a computer. I missed my desk. As much as I'd hated that sales management job, and I'd hated it a lot, I hadn't appreciated how lucky I was to have it until I'd been demoted into my current one. My last job might have felt like purgatory, but this one was literal hell.
Could you report someone to Human Resources for singing the Baby Shark song at work? My coworker Arwen was currently humming it out loud in the cubicle next to mine. And if that didn't qualify as a hate crime, it ought to. Arwen sang under her breath all the time in the office. It seemed to be an unconscious habit. The few times I'd pointed it out, she'd seemed surprised she was doing it. She'd promised to cut it out, only she hadn't. Usually I could deal with her incessant humming by tuning it out. I'd gotten to be quite good at tuning things out. It was one of my useless superpowers, along with peeling an apple and one continuous ribbon and waking up 5 minutes before my alarm went off. But right now it was 8:30 on a Monday morning. I was short on sleep and coffee, and the Baby Shark song was definitely the most insidious earworm of all time. I glanced at my work BFF in the cubicle on the other side of me. Lynn's head was propped on her hand, so her wavy black hair masked her face from my view. As if she could feel my attention on her, she turned toward me, pushing her red glasses up her nose as we exchanged a look of mutual exasperation. That was one of Lynn's superpowers, always knowing when I was telepathically trying to communicate with her. I clicked over to the company's internal communications app and typed a direct message to her. "Is there a Baby Shark song exemption to murder? Because there should be." "It could be worse," she replied. "How?" "She could be singing It's a Small World." "Rude, Lynn. Really hateful." I heard her snort at her desk and directed my most maleficent glare at her, which admittedly was not all that scary. A Disney villain I was not. My small stature, yellow blonde hair, and freckled face undermined my fearsomeness. I heard Lynn's fingers tapping on her keyboard and waited for her message to come through. "You're her supervisor. Say something to her." "Not technically," I typed back. Arwen was a graphic designer in the in-house marketing department at King's Creamery, where I was a content strategist in charge of the company's website, blog, social media accounts, and email newsletter. Well, yes, I'd effectively been performing the role of content manager since our former supervisor, Jill, left 3 months ago. I hadn't officially been promoted into the position.